Heyo, Chris, Crowdfunding Roundup. Big week! Talking about some exciting games, talking about some fun games. And this weekend, we'll be talking about June's games as well. And June's going to be pretty freaking big, right? We have some absolutely big name projects from big name companies coming. So tune in and buckle up. Patreon me, YouTube channel me. You want to know my thoughts and rankings of all these crowdfunding projects, a little exclusive behind the scenes looks. And you know what? I even had one of the ones from this past week on hand. Nexus. There you go. Let's freaking do this. Well, crap. I think I'm actually going to have to get me a copy of Enos. And this big box expansion, I saw people talking about it as saying it was a good deal. I didn't look at it myself until filming this. And so you're going to get my opinion, not just other people's opinion. And do I think this is a good deal? Yeah, I actually freaking do. It's got $250,000, but it's an area control game, right? With one of three victory conditions: control enough area, have a big enough army, or, well, have the support of the religious folks behind you. And the Nemed expansion is going to give you two different modules that are going to add two different dynamics. One, focus cards, which are tribute cards, essentially, that you offer to and get the blessing of, or Nemed tiles that actually get interwoven into the core board itself, which don't get applied the regular rules that they would with the other territories that you can also do ceremonies at. You can incorporate them, but it says even with that second module, you don't necessarily automatically have it incorporated just because you include it, because it has to come up in the first place. Colossal Games, Matago, new expansion. It matches the old one. This is what we're talking about right here as we scroll back up. You can get the Nemed Legacy Edition, meaning you have the original box, don't need the new box, don't want the new box, newest expansion, get all the new stuff. Original card and tile backs for easy integration, $32. Okay, that's the price point that I go, okay, with shipping, okay. Big box though, core, previous expansion, new expansion, right? Do the math there for a second. That is $42 for the core box, the previous expansion, and a larger box overall. That is a good deal. Now, is it going to be the whatever 136 euros that they say MSRP wise at retail? No, probably not. Is it going to be somewhere in between? Definitely. Are you going to save money? For sure. This is my lock of the month, probably best lock of the year in terms of saving money discounted wise, potentially not named like a Simon or Awakened Realms exclusive. Here's what I mentioned: dedicated sanctuaries, summoned figures to grant boons, nemetons, new holding ceremonies, deeds that will aid you as well. I probably should reacquire this game. I really probably should. I have not ever given it a chance, and I am not usually this big of area control person, but I need this game now. And I love that artwork. That artwork is freaking fantastic. That's all I can say, right? There's enough information out there that this game is not really a question mark of what you're getting. It's just, do you need the extra expansion because you're not using the already one expansion you have? So that's the issue that you have to question more than anything else. Now, I guess you can get a little bit of, coinage and sleevage and metal minis. And they apparently said that they ran out of those, so they're going to be doing more of them, so don't worry about it. And you know what? Metal minis are nice, but I think this base of the getting everything pledge is really, really good. So I don't really have anything else to say, right? This is impressive, and I give kudos, and people were right. The crowdswell and the consensus was spot on with this one, Enos. Now we're going over and talking about Nexus, the card game. Again, almost the same amount of money from Reds and Games here. I had a video out earlier in the week, 1v1, sort of a little bit of Enchanters meets Mindbug, or Riftforce, if you will, with a, comparison to something similar in the sense of smashing two decks together like Smash Up, but having slightly more complexity than, say, Smash Up, in more of a Mindbug Riftforce way, if you will. You have two different factions that you combine to 15 different cards. All you do is lay them out and draw. That's all you do on your turns. You have attacking cards, defending cards, support cards, as well as sort of magic cards, if you will. You can get a box that just contains a few of them. You can get both the boxes, and it's not a TCG style things. You just don't even have to deck construct. 1v1, 20 minutes, best of 3 if you want, or however many if you so choose. You just mix and match and go. So it's not a TCG like it says there. It is more indie in the sense of Mindbug, and I like it. I really do like it. I talked about it earlier in the week in my video, and you can get a little bit deluxeification here, just like a Mindbug sort of situation. So faction slots, solo mode, holographs, randomizers if you want, stretch goals. So you're getting a little bit of everything here. Not a booster pack, but it's a deluxeified version of existing cards because some people really want the foils in these situations, right? 16 playable factions. I think I have 10 that were sent to me, and you can bling it out however much you want right now. So this is one of those games, when I got it, I said, oh wow, this is much better than I expected. It has a Magic the Gathering vibe, minus the pack chasing situation, if you will. So what are we getting here with the stretch goals? New factions, alt art, solo mode, new factions. So more factions, more factions, more factions. That's what you want to see with this as a whole. So 16 factions for 56 euros. That's not too bad. It's not too bad at all. What are you getting with this one? The solo mode, the foil pack, and the exclusive content. So, you know, not always as big a fan of the exclusive content or the stretch goals being thrown in as an additional pledge level compared to the base, but okay, it is what it is. I like the playmat, though. That playmat really gives it some shape. Otherwise, you're just kind of playing them out in front of you. And that's it, right? Quick dynamic turns. You can play it however long you want, and it gives you a little bit of overview of the offensive, defensive support features of some of these various factions on the little graphics here. So however much you prefer, you can kind of see what that looks like. And that's pretty much it. They all play slightly differently, and it gives you kind of, like I said, more of an Enchanter's vibe with how they play. So I like it, and other people do too, apparently, and I'm not just the crazy one for once, and it's getting a lot of funding and support, so give it a look-see. Tell them Liege sent you. Operation Kraken! Right? Sounds like it should be something totally different, but Sniper Elite. If you missed my video out earlier this week, that's okay. You can tune in and get the synopsis right here, if you will. 95,000 pounds. That's impressive. This is a one versus all game. This is hidden movement, right? Not like a beast situation, but an actual hidden movement style of things. And it's probably got one of the nicest dynamics of that type of game that I've ever played. It's not overwhelming at the 2-player count, and which is really nice. It's also incredibly streamlined in the actions as you go back and forth, the sniper versus the defenders. And you have 3 groups of 3 as the defenders, and you're slowly moving across this hex-based grid to slowly sound out where essentially the sniper is, trying to deal the sniper 2 damage, periodically popping up if you can find him, versus, well, having the objectives hit for the sniper. And the nice unique mechanic here as well is that the sniper can loot at certain numbered locations on the map in the first place that are not the objectives that they need, but that causes them to draw cards, and you can see them drawing cards, so you may have another way of getting clued into where they are in those ways. The actions are straightforward. I mean, it's like move and shoot and interact. And on the opposite side, I mean, I think I've got like 5 or so interactions or options, I guess I should say, for the defenders, but again, they're very straightforward. The line of sight is super easy, and it just works. The bag pulling aspect of the sniper as well is a little bit unique. You shoot based on how far away you are. The farther away you are, you have to count that many squares. You draw that many chips from the bag because you need that many tokens of the aim ones that you have in order to hit. So you can draw as many as you want. You declare it before you do it, but you can draw as many as you want. And if you draw too many of the non-aim ones, the yellow and red ones, essentially, then you misfire, and you can even create noise that way. So again, if you're careful and you're nearby, you can tell where that noise comes from if you're in proximity. Operation Kraken expansion here gives you 2 new boards, one of which is, I believe, a ship that has 3 different layers. So not only do you have ladders to use as the defenders, you have actually going all die hard here in the air vents style of things for the sniper, and then consequently you have a different base setup which has 2 egress points for the sniper to start out with, because you get to start at one of the 4 sides, but instead of only 1 point on each of the 4 sides, it gives you 2. And then the defenders, though, have the cool miniature little armored tank car things. And that also allows them not to get just sniped off the board. But don't worry, if you get sniped off the board, you can respawn, because deploying is one of their actions. New stuff here is, oh, escalation. What's that? And a new sniper screen. Okay, 55 pounds, 40 pounds for the expansion. That's a bit expensive, but that's okay. The only thing I can't say is, not having had any of the other expansion content, how necessary is this one? Truth be told, it's a fine game game on its own. And the expansion content is really going to be good for people who are really, really loving this game. But like I said, this is probably one of the easiest entry, get into it, get to it played games in this genre mechanistically with either of the one versus alls or the hidden movements that I've ever played. And so I really like it from that aspect of things. They run you through what you're doing here. The objective cards are just that, right? You go to a point and figure it out. And escalation, let's see. Ooh, doggy. Ooh, new hunter, new advantage cards, new specialist cards. I forgot to mention that. When you're grouping of 3, you have individual special abilities for the defenders that they can utilize a certain number of times. And again, this only plays over 10 rounds. So there is really some tension to get this done, as you know, the other style of hidden movement often can turn into a little bit of a lag situation where it just goes on for way too long. What's in the base game here with a reprint? You know, I might have to consider getting some of these other expansion content because it is pretty freaking nice game. Like, I was really impressed. I was not expecting this to be as good as it was. Yeah, there you go. That's what we got going on. And I think, there I am. You know, it's funny. I'm going to overlay this for a second. I know, because Game Brigade sent it to me. They had me label this Game Brigade. I think it's hilarious, actually. He's like, hey man, you joining up with me? So that's Sniper Elite, you know, 2-man band. We should get together and do some videos, Game Brigade. Flashpoint is back, and this has a new engine of Flashpoint. You can also get their recent Legacy of Flame, I believe, which was their campaign legacy situation. I don't really know. I haven't really heard anything about that one. Not anything bad to say about it. I just haven't heard anything on the secondary side of things from people who are backing it, from reviewers, how they felt about it. But this is another one from Indie Board and Cards. It takes your pandemic spin with the firefighter standpoint and gives you more Flashpoint in the Golden State Edition. And the main crux they're going here with this ignition system is that you take your firefighter, then you take 2 gear, then you take a boost, and you get to mix and match and give it a unique spin on the individual scenarios that you're going to be going up against. Now, there are going to be link scenarios that you can unlock more milestones as well as more equipment and boost as you're going along, and then dealing with events that are going to be unique to those individual maps as well. 12 event decks, bringing a classic map to life in new different ways. That's it, right? You're rescuing 7 victims over a certain time frame, or if 4 of those victims become unrescuable, lost, killed, whatever, you'll lose. That's it. It's one of those cooperative games, sort of like when I talked about Black Orchestra earlier in the year, that I, truth be told, have never tried, and I need to. So eventually one of these times I'll get in on a copy of this, or I'll trade for it. The standalone here of Legacy of Flame was $75 as an add-on here. I'm not sure how that compares to the previous campaign. So you know what? I said, screw it, let's pull it up. And it's $59 here. So, ooh, I mean, I guess you're better off getting it at the first time. I guess I'd also wonder whether or not it is more available at retail. You know what, screw it, I'm a board game Oracle geek. So it is slightly less, and you could probably get free shipping for it, but it's not terrible either way, but you're going to pay shipping on the other one. So that would be the issue more than anything else. Reset pack, milestones, they're unlocking stuff on a daily basis. You're getting more content. So there you go. Indie Board and Card giving us more Flashpoint. One of these days I'll pick it up. Top Frog. Again, this is like out of nowhere. It's a stacking frogs on top of games set collection style vibe, but it's simultaneous action selection programming as well. Because as you can see here in the little graphic, you have a grid of cards, frogs, that are going to be setting out on top of you. And it gives you a little bit of a reforest situation with reforest where you could only stack plants that were taller on top of ones that were shorter. This, you have to do it by weight. So bigger frogs smush smaller frogs here. And so what you do is you stack, and you have 3 stacks that are going to be available on your turn. Is you have a hand of action cards at the beginning of every round, and you play these action cards to determine where your frog is going on this grid. There is a little mini expansion to go along with it, deluxe plush, okay, how to play. Here are your action cards, right? And you can rest, you can catch, and you can move. And so you're going to be acquiring these, putting them on your stacks. You can hold one, though, into your hand to save, because it might not be the most opportune time to put it down. There's going to be combos, there's going to be abilities on these frogs that you're going to be utilizing and mitigating. As you can see here, gain, do that sort of thing. Frog Fashion, which is going to be part of the set collection, and then different abilities when played, when stacked, when showing, when added to the pond, when special placement, you know, all of those sorts of things. This one actually looks better than I was expecting. I looked at this and I said, why is a frog game getting $40,000? And I said, oh, it's anything animal related on crowdfunding, boom. But it actually looks like really solid set collection style game, so give it a look. Another 300 grander, almost 400 grand now, because the others are almost at 400 grand by the time I filmed this as well. Dawn of Madness, the complete collection. Woo! $300 for this sucker. And the Essentials new pledge, $119. So Dimension Games is coming back with a horror experience narrative sort of crawl, if you will. Now you have their 5-color unique personality resource system, skill combinations, and cooperative to reach the game ending. Holy crap, the gameplay all in is $500? Ooh, okay. That's a lot of stuff on the table though. I like this system, but it's one of those where, again, like horror is your vibe, it really does set it apart from the other stuff that's out there, because we've got a lot of the Cthulhu, right? We've got some Final Girl, which isn't as dark, and this is taking that and running with it as a whole. Now again, with the new stuff here, we'll get to this in a second, but I really do like the 5-color psychological resource system. I always say this on campaigns, right? When we talk about what's different, what's unique, why should I buy your game, what makes it stand out, and this puts it out clearly on the crowdfunding page, and so I love that, right? It might not be for you, but I love the allocation of this system as a whole, and so I give them kudos for being like, hey guys, this is us. This is what makes us stand out. It might not be to your dynamic with the turn structure as you go back and forth, but it is going to give you something distinct from other things in your collection. 55, holy crap, possible endings. Woo! Okay, I agree with this. This isn't like anything else. You're getting a whole lot of stuff, but what the expansion content is bringing, if we make it down here, let's see what's new. You have the Sins of the Lost and the Chasteners. And Chasteners, we'll go with that. Upgrade pack though is $1. So if you are a previous backer, you can get the upgrade pack for free or for $1 it separately right there. The big twist here is the 7 deadly sins, and you're replacing the abominations in this game, not only giving you cards and creatures that can't be killed, you're also apparently streamlining it, which again, if you're getting into this right now, you're going, okay, that's great. If you're one of those previous people, you're going, oh, that would have been nice a little bit ago. Core corruption of the 7 sins, sin action cards, doom cards, and unique dice interactions on how they're going to be, well, basically trying to screw you over. 7 different dice that are utilized in that, and 9 different huge miniatures, they say. So that's what they got going on here. Here's an example. Again, I'm not a huge horror fan, so I always kind of take this with a grain of salt, but at least it's not like gratuitous like some of the Kingdom Death stuff is at the same time. Yeah, I said what I said. You know, there is some lewdness in the Kingdom Death stuff for the sake of lewdness, it feels like at times, right? Because that's what appeals to a lot of the people who aren't buying the game and just the miniatures alone. Oh, I'm sorry, but it's true. Then the Chasteners here. You're getting whole big bad guys that are just gonna go out and thwomp you, essentially. So 4 unique story systems in the core box alone for $89. I say that this is a good value as well. It's just whether or not you have too much of this stuff already in your collection in the first place. And I would also wager, if we go down here to the add-ons, it's more of a pick your poison, if you will. Which one of these expansions and how do you break that down and which one is going to be best for you? That is for smarter people than I who have played this game a much more than me in the first place. No miniature versions though. That's freaking sweet. Give kudos where kudos is freaking due. And you can separate it all out, piecemeal it a la mode, a la whatever you want on top of things, and plenty of content out there as well to how you play it and how opinions are all over the place. So this is a freaking massive page. I can scroll for probably another 20 seconds here because this is way too much graphics on a page, but you get to a picture of literally everything that is in this box, right? I am still scrolling. I'm only about 2/3 of the way down right now. It is no joke, right? I can keep talking like this and it can keep going. So this is one of the biggest crowdfunding pages I have ever freaking seen. Fiend. And so there you go. Tomb Raider, the Crypt of Chronos. I have a few select words about this. The 1+ right there, it's a solo game, folks. It is kumbaya, hold hands, pass it around the table sort of situation, or make decisions together as only Lara Croft. That is it. It has got this sort of system with dice-based situational actions, if you will, where you have action cards that you want to play, and they're going to have a certain number of icons on them in order to do them. And you have to roll your 6 dice on your turn, and then choose the dice that actually have the actions on them, because it's like one of those systems where it's got 0, 1, or 2 of those action symbols on the sides of the dice. And you may end up with very few actions on your turn. And then it goes to the enemies, and then it goes to the events, and then it goes back to you. So it's got this cyclical nature, and you only go until you use your 6 dice and then someone else's turn. Now, you can play in 20 to 60 minute chunks, they say, but the whole game should last you. The whole game should last you 3 hours to get through everything. Bosses, exploration, everything else like that. So we're going from one end of the pool to the other end of the pool, going from the Deep Madness Complete Collection to Lara Croft here. Traps, there are going to be slight puzzle-ishes, and then you can research and upgrade some with abilities and craft your own stuff as you're going along the way too. So you have an event deck. When the event deck runs out, then the Natla tech invasion sprawls and spreads out there as well. Enemies that will spawn other enemies and that will move towards you in this system, and a few bosses that you'll be fighting. Not just a witch Natla queen there, but also a freaking bear, right? See, there's the bear. Not joking about this stuff. But it is primarily a solo game here. We're getting a few stretch goals with a little bit of upgraded content and a little bit of gameplay content as well. It runs you through, like I said, the gameplay features, the adventure book mode, 20 to 60 minutes, the campaign mode, 3 hours of all total play, 4 locations, the dice, the bench, the events, bosses, everything I mentioned. The rulebook's on the page. And that's about all I can say right now. There's preview content galore, so you can check that out if you're really enticed. But I don't know, right? I just feel like it's streamlined. This is meant for people getting into it. It's not going to offer the depth of immersion that, say, a lot of other crawl-type games are going to give you in this regard. But you know what? There's a place for that too, a la your Mass Effect from 2024, right? Where that was more streamlined. So you're going to have people on either side of things that are both pro and con. You just need to know what's right for you. And don't nostalgia buy, please. My kids are outside right now telling knock knock, who's there jokes. Banana who, aren't you glad I just didn't say orange again? That sort of thing. That's what's going on while I'm filming this. Anyway, segue. 20th Century Games. Chad, one of my favorite people. Stargazers and Observatory, 2 Cosmos-based board games. Completely different in how you're going to be doing this. In Stargazers, what you're actually doing is you're drawing tiles that are going to match up on your grid. You're going to be matching sides of the grid, but you're also going to be drawing sort of in a Cascadia-esque way, the little center tiles that are on them as well in a grouping, because you can't take either or. And there's going to be a grid laid out in front of you, and you can choose them, and you have to play them on your own individual map. And not only do you have to then match them, set collect in that way to the sides of your individual tiles, but you're going to be having these that will give you special abilities as well as you go along, trying to create constellations as you're doing that as part of it as well. And then the other one, actually, you know, again, this is the Observatory situation that I look at and I go, this is the difference between taking a roll and write style game that is based off of an IP or a previous product and creating one on itself, because I think it's doing something really creative here with Observatory, and I really like this, because essentially what you do is you draw a certain number of constellations at the beginning of the game, and then you're trying to map those out on your individual board here. And as you can see on the rows and the columns, there are 2 rows and 2 columns for each number. And so what you do on your turn is you do the old roll and write situation. You do 3 dice. 2 dice determine the coordinates, row and column, and then the 3rd dice depends on what you want to do research-wise in the bottom part as the abilities. And at the bottom part of this board, as you can see, you're going to be checking off areas in that. And so the more you fill up, the more abilities you unlock, or a certain number will get you an ability in the first place that will allow you to mitigate. And so I really like this. This is really cool. As you make your constellations above, you can rotate them. You cannot mirror them. You fill out the quests, rinse and repeat, and then that is the game. So again, it's not maybe your vibe, but it's doing something different that I haven't seen before that I really like in that manner. So I give them kudos for giving you something different altogether. And then we're also talking Power Vacuum because they picked it up. I covered this, I don't know, a year and a half ago, and it was on crowdfunding. Very impressive little trick-taking game. Absolutely smashing for what it's bringing to the table, and it is highly, highly underrated. Don't believe me? Go check out Shut Up and Sit Down because they covered it. Because what you're doing is you can see the back sides of the suits, but some of the back sides of the suits don't actually correlate to the front sides. And so how that changes then is you allow it to manipulate these power tokens around the outside in order to get, well, your agenda figured out and made. So your manipulation is really, really cool there. I really need a copy of Traders, the expansion for Ra. Anyway, so that is what we've got going on, and I'm really glad to see it's funded, and they're doing really, really well. 14 grand. There you go. Phantom Divisions. And so what you're getting here is sort of like a Mass Effect meets Catacombs, if you will. And it gives you two different options depending on how you feel about flicking. If you want to flick, or if you want to use dice rolls to determine more deterministic combat, if you will, you can have either of those options. And that's just what it is, right? Melee attacks, ranged attacks are going to be flicking under a certain amount of time. There's like a time moving slow matrix ability as well. So you flick as many times as you can before the sand timer runs out, and that's how much damage you do. You're going to be upgrading your weapons. You're going to be battling through these different areas. Line of sight style, locked doors, open doors, drafting rulebook is there, and it's got a 3D terrain with playmats. So yeah, you want to play solo, you can as well, because they've got an AI system that is going to be running the enemies as you go back and forth between your team and the other team. Actions consequence, because they also have reactions based off of the noise on the weapons that you're going to be using, sort of a la a melee versus range situation as well. Then you're going to be having to do your quests or your objectives in the first place, like they say here, failing to defuse the bomb, game over. Random objectives, twists, as it has an event system as well that's going along in addition. Neutralize the enemy, upgrade your character between your missions, play the mini games as well. They're going to be part of this in terms of unlocking the bombs or doing the doors or things like that, where you're going to be having to flick in certain ways or maneuver them while you're holding them in certain ways between two other blocks. So it's got a few other twists in there that you can kind of see that are definitely different, that are just fun, clever ways of manipulating it as well. So that's Phantom Division. It is going to be a premium price because you're paying premium components with the playmat and the wooden blocks to start out with. So yeah, $89 doesn't really surprise me. If you want the extra expansion content, though, it's going to cost you an additional $20, and it just gives you a little bit more of everything, if you will. If we go back up here, a new mission setup with that one and a new mission setup with that one, both playmats. So that's actually a really good price for what you're getting there. But yeah, there you go. Phantom Horizon, you know what, sorry, it's from, you know, the people near Horizon. It's based off of folks who really loved Catacombs in the first place, but they wanted more of a Mass Effect feel. So there you go, it's funded, 26 grand. You want another escape room game? Sleddy's Lost Tapes, creepypasta horror escape game, and this is from Key Enigma, who basically is their thing, right? Escape box mixing puzzles, narrative, and technology. They're in the form of VHS tapes, and that's what you get. And if you like this sort of thing, you go. They say that this one is actually resettable and replayable, so you can pass it along. People just like doing the experience as a whole. What is the price point, though, as I skimmed over it way too fast? Woo! $85 for early game expansion content, everything included. So there you go. That's an expensive escape room game, but I mean, people love it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be getting this much money. 44 grand. Give it a look. Heroes of the Sanctum. Now we're talking their second time around here, $26,000. The incursion continues. This is the second season, as they say, new products, new expansions in this sort of line-based dungeon crawl card situation. And essentially what you've got going on is you draft your heroes at the beginning of the game. They're all going to have asymmetric abilities. You line them up and they have to fend off encroaching enemies from the outside. And they're going to be forming lines, essentially, that you're going to have to defeat as you're going along. The tricky point here at the bottom of this image is that you're only going to have certain actions based on the stratagem card that's available to you. Blue, I believe, being worth 2 actions in order to take it, and red being 1. And you place your tokens over those corresponding spots, and that changes on a round-by-round basis as you're trying to explore the regions to reach the end. As you move this marker along with the scout action, it will give you the ability to reach outside of that region once you've reached a certain threshold. And you've got multiplayer expansion now to 4 players with this new content. It's just giving you more of potentially a good thing. Similarly to Flashpoint, I remember this one came around. I'll be completely honest, though, I completely forgot about it, and it's one of those that maybe I should be trying at some point, but it is more of like at least giving me a vibe of 1 to 2 people as a whole. But they are offering a new, I believe, with Season 2, the Doom Crawler here is the solo expansion, and then the new Legends of the Damned here as well is a new quest deck system, new story, new threats, new proximity lines. That's the, you know, battle sense that you're going across with the heroes. And new traits, new remnants, and new companions, new standalone quests, everything else, just more. So just kind of a cool system, kind of a cool artwork too. I like the vibe. Season 1, if you want that one as well, you can get in with that, the multiplayer expansion, the epic expansion, and the comic expansion. Again, basically more fusion of everything else except for this comic expansion, which gives you more of a graphic novel game book immersion. You can upgrade it and get your deluxeifications, and they say, hey, whatever happens with the tariffs, we'll cover you. So there you go. Fire Tap is doing really well at $26,000 right now. Then Trouble on Tempus. And this is not really a win game. This is more in the cooperative sense of an FTL, just survive. And it's almost funded. Hopefully it'll be funded by the time you guys watch this video. 2 to 5 players where you're managing throughout the ship, taking 2 movements and 1 action on a turn-by-turn basis, just trying to stay alive and using a jump drive, a time drive in order to kind of reset things, to take away some of the damage, to also give you more full turns, but also to get yourself in more trouble. And you're going to be having to deal with things like the life support being attacked, or too much fire damage, or the airlock door being blown off, and those are the ways that you're going to potentially die. And you just have to go through the event deck a certain number of times based on the 4 levels of difficulty that they provide. There are going to be somewhere between 12 to 14 of these event cards, disaster cards, whatever you want to call them, at 2 varying degrees depending on what level of difficulty you start out with. So the higher the level, the more of the bad ones and the more of the worst ones, essentially. So £45 is going to get you all of these disaster cards, item cards, tokens to go along with it. So it's, again, a different twist on the cooperative pandemic style vibe. Rulebook is there. They talk about the hyperdrive, the action phase system, the consequences of the things that you do not take out on the first place, and just dealing with it as you go. Now, again, here they mention the time drive, where it is your secret weapon, rewinds it back to the beginning of the game, adds a paradox card to the disaster deck, and resets the disaster card pile back the way it was on the same feature and order. That's kind of cool. That's the unique mechanism that you're going to do there. I mentioned that you just got to survive. Now, you do actually have to fix the hyperdrive and perform the 3 actions on the bridge. So you have to be able to get everything back in order in that way. So Minor Disaster Games look like they've got a winner on their hands here, and it should be funded. So check it out. Baron von Zom's Dice of the Dead, back again for the second time. Dice puzzly fun. Essentially what you do is you roll 3 dice into a box, and when you get ones that match, you can lay them down here for the first time. A little bit of color matching there as well, like yellow and blue make green. But you have to start out with a pair, and then you have to do pairs up all the way around in order to get what you want. Can't get the dice that you want, pass them on to the next person, rinse and repeat. Can't use dice, somebody else can. Choose who may be able to use it as a whole. You're going to be drawing cards, giving ridiculous rules to the rounds as well, green cards as well as red cards depending on what you roll, and so it's just going to change the game up. 2 new expansions here are going to be giving you more of those rules that I mentioned. You want a little bit of different events to go along with that in a different way. That's what they've got going on here. Play it with additional people if you really like it, and get an adult drinking portion of it as well. That's all I'm going to mention. That's all I'm going to talk about. So if you like Baron von Zom, he's back. Next up, Atlas Explore the World from Ion Game Design, putting out one of my favorite games in the past with Stationfall. This is almost 50% funded, and this is a tableau building travel the world style game. It's actually much more complicated than this page makes you feel like, or makes it look like. And that's what really needs to be said, because I was looking at all of this and seeing all this iconography with the country cards that are all double-sided, and the destination cards, personal goal cards, as well as the public goal cards, the event cards that are going to be happening along the way, the action system that you're going to be utilizing, the party cards, all of this stuff, right? But this rulebook is really denser than I was expecting with the 15 pages that they've got going on here, right? How to play, main action, bonus action, one of 6 different actions that you can take on your main turn, including blogging, which is a lot of the resource management, the traveling through the air, over the land and sea, last minute flights to discard destination cards, resting, traveling, working, all of those ways, exploring as you're going around, paying the card costs to get it in your tableau, placing the exploration tokens out, shifting the popularity and gaining those goals as I mentioned. And then also, as we get down a little bit further here, the blogging, which is your refreshing events and rewards section as you're drawing them, and potentially gaining new things along the way, including personalities and new languages. So you can get dislikes, you can gain likes, and like I mentioned, a little bit of language learning along the way. Little set collection as well to go with your tableau, and don't worry, they've got you covered on the 7 different tiebreakers there, just in case you're a little too close to things. So you're getting wooden components, you're getting upgrades with standees, and they run you through a little bit of the how to play, right? That's all that's there of that dense rulebook. So you want to watch some video content, you're better off getting a better sense of the flow. I'll leave it at that for you this week with this one. It is a bit of an expensive game here, 79 euros. So that's not insignificant. The Backpacker Edition is the little extra card content as well. Yeah, they're an indie game and it's a Swedish board game designer. So they've got some good stuff. Give it a look. Going over back to GameFound. Now this is always interesting to me, right? Because we saw Nexus and now we have SolForge, which SolForge Fusion has an online presence, but also previous retail presence in the physical form. And so this is the latest standalone booster from Richard Garfield and Justin Gary from the Ascension deck building game. And so what you're doing is you take two unique factions, you smash them together, and you have a 5-lane battling situation with fronts and backs of the rows. And you're going to be playing them down there. And the unique mechanic with SolForge Fusion is that when you play a card, you have level 1s, level 2s, and level 3s. So you play level 1 or you play anything, right? It doesn't matter if it's a creature, it doesn't matter if it's a spell. You play it, then you get the next higher level to go into your discard pile. And after 3 rounds, you then get to shuffle your discard pile into your deck and then draw up as you're drawing 5 cards per turn. You don't keep cards in your hand at the end of the round, so you should be careful about what you're using and what you're not using with your limited actions that you have in the first place. Now, this is giving you more of your deck building aspect of things, and they say something like 6,000 cards in this initial one. So that's my big question, is how much of this do you need when you're buying a booster bundle, right? Look at this thing. This is the 4th card set, over 6,000 new cards, reintroduce Deadly Assassins, Ancient Warriors, Corrupted Creations. And you get a starter kit as well as a full freaking booster pack. So that's a lot of stuff, right? 4 unique faction decks, 12 minions, minion tracker player, and play mats made of paper. Awesome. Just play mats of paper, just what you need, right? But the boosters here are the thing that you're looking for. And each of these are $30 a piece, but it looks like you're getting 4 unique faction card decks here as well. So when you pull this up, $30 each is going to cost you over $120. So it is a bundled booster there. But you can get all the previous stuff, you can get the digital stuff, you can get yourself made into a card, you can get a package tied to a landmark here, I don't know, right? $1,800, $5,000, $10,000, or a whole bunch of freaking add-ons with their previous stuff as well, with Shards of Infinity, Ascension Tactics, and some unlocks that are going to be going on daily each day. So people like it. It's got some seals of awesomeness elsewhere. And the main thing I always worry about with these situations is just the deck building aspect as a whole. Otherwise, I'd have a lot of these other games. Even if they show me some pre-constructed, that's my biggest barrier. I just cannot do it well, but I know you guys are better than me. So you should look at SolForge. Now, this is a little outside my depth, but Flanix is coming back to us with Conquest of Paradise, a game of discovery, expansion, and ambition in the Polynesian Triangle. 2 to 4 players, seafaring, exploring cultures, and island atolls, if you will. So what you're doing essentially is you're expanding through the Pacific on a turn-by-turn, round-by-round basis, taking damage or attrition from the waves if you're trying to push your luck too long, and ultimately trying to be the one scoring the most victory points in sort of a 4-phase round system. Ooh, free 5th player expansion, not available at retail with a limited game, and up to 43, right? So 65 is going to get you to the Deluxe Edition with the 5th and the stretch goals, and that's it, actually. Just kidding, only 1 pledge level. We're getting some extras here, mostly wooden portions of pieces as well. So what else do you need to know from this game of how to play it, right? Turn order based on last place goes first. Exploration if you want to go to the new unknown, revealing island groups or open water spaces. And that's where you're trying to figure out and flip up these wave tokens, because if you get too many, you have to return. Movement and battle, you're moving out your canoes and your warriors to expand your influence as well as launching attacks, which is a simple dice-driven system that they have, doing head-to-head take that. Based on the number of villages that you have, it allows you to construct more units, settlements, or get your arts and cultures that are going to get you more victory points at the end. Have enough victory points based on the player count, you win. 10 to 15 minutes of learning. Rulebook is there. Shipping's going to be whatever it's going to be, and plenty of smarter people talking about it down there that you can check out. Not nearly as heavy as I was expecting it to, but check out the rulebook to see what and if you like this sort of thing, because you're really going to have to check out that for the vibe or the flow better than I can explain it in this one. So, Conquest of Paradise. That's it. That's the roundup for this week. Tons of games. And, you know, I didn't even get to the video talking about my best of April from this past month. I don't think I got to the retail. I haven't done the look back. I haven't done my wish list. I haven't done more than a few things, but also sometime hopefully this weekend we'll get maybe one of those in, but we'll probably also do, because it's more time sensitive as well, upcoming in June. So June will either be Sunday or Monday. One of those other ones might get thrown in Saturday, Sunday, Monday as well. Got a multi-game review as well coming out this week with the All Play situation, with 3 games from All Play, including Kabuto Sumo there, and 2 of their small boxes from one of the latest crowdfunding campaigns. So we'll have some thoughts on that. Realm of Reckoning from IV Studios, and I've got a few other small box games we need to do a multi-game review of as well, from Arcus, Storm Raiders, Diatoms from 25th Century, a few of those that are kind of lurking as well that are going to eventually get some light of day. That's all I got. Kid is graduating. My oldest is graduating from elementary school, but still, like, all of a sudden, right? 5th grade, he's done. He's out of the elementary school. It's crazy. I'm going to turn around and he's going to be graduating high school. I mean, I'm going to be putting that video out next week, it feels like. So that's all I got. Help me do this more, and help me on Patreon or YouTube channel membership, whatever you'd like. It'd be super helpful. And I'd appreciate it. But subscribe. Somehow we made it this far, and we'll see where it goes. Peace out. Stay classy. Have a great day.